Chapter 3. The Hunter's Tide. The sun was a merciless hammer, beating down on the white sands of Crescent Cove. Salt-laced wind whispered through the coarse dune grass, and the rhythmic crash of waves on the shore was a steady, lulling percussion. From his perch atop the stark white lifeguard tower, Liam looked out over a scene of idyllic summer peace. It was a place of postcard beauty, a world away from the claustrophobic, chilling confines of his apartment, yet paradise was still a prison. He was thinner now, his athletic frame whittled down to wire and bone. The red lifeguard shorts hung loose on his hips, and the whistle around his neck felt heavy against his sternum. He squinted out at the ocean, the glare off the water so bright it made his head ache. He was trying to project an air of calm vigilance, the quiet professional at his post. But his focus was fractured, his control fraying at the edges. Beneath his tower, stretched long and dark in the midday sun, was his shadow. And clinging to it, inseparable, was the hunched, dripping silhouette of Arthur Vance. It was there, a permanent blight on the sun-drenched sand, a constant, silent reminder of his failure. Liam had learned not to look at it directly, but he could feel its presence, a cold spot on his periphery. The haunting had adapted to the new environment with terrifying ingenuity. The ocean, once his kingdom, the very instrument of his power, had been turned against him. He saw Arthur everywhere. In the krill of a cresting wave, he would glimpse the old man's bloated, pale face for a split second before it dissolved into foam. In the dark troughs between swells, he saw a submerged, waterlogged shape rocking gently in the depths. He saw spectral, wrinkled hands reaching from the churning sea foam as it slid up the beach, only to recede with the tide. Every splash of sea spray that misted his skin felt shockingly cold, a deathly chill that had nothing to do with the water temperature. It was Arthur's touch, a constant, wet and clinging caress. "This ends today," Lem muttered to himself, his voice a dry rasp. His gaze swept the beach, ignoring the fleeting apparitions in the waves. He needed to focus. This was not a haunting. It was a contamination of the data. The memory of Arthur's death was corrupted, and it was causing a system-wide crash. The only solution was a hard reset, a new file, clean, perfect, and powerful to echo the old one. His eyes passed over the few souls dotting the sand. A family with shrieking toddlers splashing in the shallows. Too many witnesses, too much noise. A cluster of loud teenagers tossing a frisbee, too much attention. He needed what he always needed, isolation, an opportunity born of complacency and solitude. Then he saw her, far out, a lone dark spot against the shimmering blue-green expanse. A swimmer. She was well beyond the brightly colored buoys that marked the safe zone, moving with a steady, confident rhythm. A woman, her dark hair slicked back, her strokes strong and even. She was alone, utterly absorbed in her communion with the sea. No one on the beach was watching her. They were lost in their own worlds of suntan lotion, Peterbrook novels, and sleepy relaxation. She was a ship that had slipped its moorings, drifting out into the deep unnoticed. She was perfect. A jolt went through Liam, a current of something hot and sharp that cut through the perpetual, clammy fear. It was a feeling he recognized, a feeling he had desperately missed. It was the thrill, the slow, coiling excitement of the predator that has spotted its prey. The phantoms in the waves seemed to shrink, to lose their power. The dripping shadow on the sand felt distant. They were just noise, distractions from the signal. His mind, which had been a chaotic storm of paranoia, began to clear, focusing down to a single, sharp point, her. He could feel the old confidence returning, flooding the empty spaces that fear had carved out inside him. He was not the hunted, he was the hunter. This was his element. He knew the currents here, the way the seafloor dropped off into a sudden, deep channel just beyond where she was swimming. He knew the way a panicked body would react, the way water filled the lungs, the silent, desperate struggle that no one would see from the shore. He was a god here, and he was about to reclaim his throne. He stood, his movements fluid and deliberate. The fear was still there, a low hum beneath the surface, but it was no longer in control. His purpose was. He reached for the red torpedo buoy hooked to the side of the tower. A tool of rescue, a perfect disguise. To anyone watching, he would be the hero, The diligent lifeguard going to warn a swimmer who had ventured out too far. The irony was exquisite. He walked down the wooden steps of the tower, his bare feet hitting the hot sand. He did not look at his shadow. He did not look at the waves for phantoms. His eyes were locked on the distant figure of the woman, a target in his sights. He reached the water's edge, the foam bubbling around his ankles. It was cold, colder than it should be. For a heart-stopping second, as he looked down, the water swirling around his feet became perfectly clear, and he saw Arthur Vance's face looking up from the sandy bottom, his hollow eyes wide, his mouth open in a silent plea. Liam flinched, but did not stop. He strode forward, deeper, the illusion shattering into a million refracted pieces of light. He pushed the ghost from his mind. It was just a final, desperate flicker of the old corrupted file he was about to delete. With a final, powerful shove, he launched himself into the surf, the rescue buoy held out before him. His strokes were clean, powerful, slicing through the water with practiced efficiency. The shore, with its lazy sunbathers and its ghosts, fell away behind him. Ahead, there was only the vast open ocean and the woman swimming on, blissfully unaware that the tide was turning against her, that a silent, smiling hunter was closing the distance with every beat of his cold, determined heart.